tonight, y'all, this is the We Shine Media Spotlight. And you know, when I come on, I am bringing people that I just love what they're doing. They're out here making moves, doing big things, being powerhouses, dropping all kinds of knowledge, right? They are the people that you want to see that influence you, that mentor you from a distance. You know, they don't even know you stalking their pages, right? Trying to see what they're doing because they just do it so effortlessly. And so that's why I love shining the spotlight because I'm telling y'all, we have some amazing people out here in these streets making a difference. And I have a very special person, honey, a VIP, somebody that I call my friend. Look, even though we don't talk all the time, but you know what? Sometimes when you meet some people, it's the connection, right? It is the energy that they have, it's the spirit that's all over them. And that's what this person has done. You know, she's just a beautiful spirit inside and out. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring her to the virtual stage of the We Shine Media Spotlight and shine a light on none other than Dr. Alethia Tucker.
Hey, Angela.
How are you?
I'm good. I am so happy to be here with you. You know, it's been far too long. So I'm
Far
really happy to
too
be here.
long. I'm so glad that you are here. And I wanted to not even really get into the bio because I got information on the screen. So when they see, and this is y'all not even everything. When I say speaker, coach, publisher, president of the Miss Corporate America Maryland, a podcast host, mentor, leadership advocate. I'm saying it's so many things I can say about Alethea. I told her earlier before we got started. She's taken the Maryland, the DMV area by storm, right? Everybody probably knows who Alethea is. She probably up on some billboard like, yes, call me for any of your needs, right? The reinvention strategist, whatever you're looking for, whatever you need, Alethea is the one that you need to connect with. So, with that being said, outside of looking absolutely gorgeous, skin is just popping and glowing. Girl, listen, like she
And
been in
it's
Jamaica
worth
somewhere. Like you've been in Jamaica somewhere, girl, just enjoying a nice little pina colada or
I
strawberry daiquiri
would
or something.
love to be in Jamaica somewhere.
Yeah, y'all don't underestimate. Look, she says that, but listen, she'll probably be on a trip somewhere. But y'all, keeping it real, Alethea,
Yeah.
I told her it's not enough hours in the day for the things that I see that she accomplishes. And so, Alethea, I want you to kind of share with the people because titles and all these things are great. But I want you to really tell them just a little bit more in depth about who you are behind all these things.
Oh my goodness, Angela. And I love how you said titles are great, but who are you behind all these things? I am just Alethea. I am just Alethea. And I talk all the time about, being authentically yourself. And what you see me doing is truly all in my authenticity, all on my platform. I really believe that I have a calling to work with women. And
Mhm.
it's a calling that I think I just kind of stumbled into. I shouldn't say I just stumbled into if it's a calling because it means I was kind of appointed to do it, huh? But a lot of it has come from my own experience. And I've always felt that once you learn to conquer something, you have a responsibility to go out there and help someone else to do the same. Your story is for you, of course, but it's
Mhm.
also to help somebody else. And that's kind of what I've built my platform on, the stumbles and the falls and the triumphs and the tragedies and all
Mhm.
of that, and mixed it with a little bit of training that I've had in there and some years of experience and boy,
Mhm.
I've got the platform that I use to reach mainly my audience of women,
Yeah.
women in those middle years, those
Yeah.
40s where they're really starting to figure out, I haven't really done all that I want to do yet. And what does that even look like? What is
Right.
this big word purpose? What does that mean? And we hear about it all the time. Do I have one? What am I supposed to do? So, my platform really does revolve around that, giving them the tools to be better, to do different. to get the life that they truly desire to have. And I'm blessed to be able to do something like that. And like I said, what makes it easy is, most of this stuff I've walked through. So, just add some of the extras to it, and I'm able to share and help somebody else to grow. That's what I want to do.
And I love that spirit, especially of saying that it's things you've been through, because sometimes people will look at people's success and they think that their life has just been so smooth, so easy, and that's not always the reality. At the end of the day, life is not perfect. No
No.
matter how perfect people look, it hasn't always been easy. And as you go through life, you're going to experience ups and downs, like you say, trials and triumphs. You're going to
Yes.
experience things, and you're here to talk about it. But
Yeah.
for you, not only are you talking about it, but you're sharing what you've learned from it, because it is.
Absolutely.
We had a guest on the Empowered Morning Show this morning. She said, "You know what? All I do is win or learn," and
Mm,
I love that. I
that.
was like, you know what? Because you have to learn. It's lessons that you go through. It's not losses. You just have to learn the lesson.
Absolutely. And I often say, you learn from everything. If it's nothing but don't do that again, that's the
Thank you.
lesson.
That's the lesson. Yes.
Do it different next
The
time.
stove is not. Don't touch it again.
Don't touch
Yes.
it again. That's the lesson. But nothing in your life really just happens. Nothing is happenstance.
Mhm.
There's always a reason for it.
Right.
Wholeheartedly believe that. Even the things that have totally broken you, to the point where you don't feel like you're going to be able to come back from it. Was it a mistake that it happened? Nah, it was all there to build you,
Yeah.
to help you to see that when that kind of thing comes up the next time, you'll look and go, wow, I remember a time when that would have totally crushed me. But I've grown so that I can get past that. And I've
Hmm.
grown not just so that I can get past it, but like I said, help somebody else to get past it as well.
That is so good, because you know what, Alethea, I think as women, because we do so much and we have so many hats and we're trying to be there for everybody and we're pleasing everybody and making sure they're good, and just being the hostess with the mostest, no matter if you're hosting the event or not, you're
Right,
just running
right.
around trying to make sure, did you get something to eat, did you get something to
Exactly.
drink, are you okay, are you too hot, you too cold, you may get your coat, what do you want me to do? Oh, you need
Right,
to go tell
right.
somebody, let me go find somebody for you. And so because we are in that zone so much, it's no wonder that we lose ourselves when you get into your 40s and 50s and 60s, because you've ran around and did so much. You've lost her in the millions of people that you've tried to help along the way. She got
Absolutely.
stuck somewhere over there.
Yes, and that is literally, that is a good image right there. She got stuck somewhere in the chaos of trying to be there for every, because women, we just by nature, we're nurturers. That's the way we're
Yes,
designed.
yes.
And you would frequently say it, or you would frequently hear, a woman's gonna make it happen. So when
Hmm.
the rubber meets the road
Yes,
and this doesn't get done, and or that doesn't get done, and some of us really take it to extremes. It gets to the point where we really do have other folks to help out, but we're just so used to getting it done ourselves. We feel as though we don't want to take that chance. We want to jump in there and get it all done. And then we start wearing this I can do it all like as a badge of honor. And what it's doing is tearing us apart and tearing
girl.
us down, because we need to rest at some point. And we
Hmm.
need to make some room in there to do our own, to have our own dreams, to fulfill what it is that we're destined to do. And
Yeah,
getting lost in the chaos, being in the doing too much club will definitely pull you down.
for
Absolutely.
sure.
Absolutely.
Because we carry so much weight on our shoulders,
Yeah.
and I had a lady, one time, say that, um, people don't realize how much weight they carry, you know, and
Mhm.
you feel like it's all on your shoulders to get it done. There's nobody else, that can make it happen but you, like you do it. And
Yes.
so we walk through life, but you wonder why you always feel so exhausted, so weighed down. Like you wake up tired, you doze off in the middle of the day, you get up, you know what I'm saying? You
Tired.
just
Yeah.
you're tired. It's a constant state of being tired, But a
Yeah.
lot of times we're carrying weight that we're not even supposed to carry because you're talking to your girlfriend and she tells you all her problems. And so you're stressed out and overwhelmed and anxious and everything because she's told you something and you've assumed that. And then
Yeah.
your kids tell you something. If they get bullied at school, now you're trying to figure out how you can help them with that. And then you go to church and somebody didn't show up. And so you got to figure out how we're going to make sure that the people get seated because all the ushers not here. And so
Yeah.
we carry on weight that's really not all of ours to carry.
No, and we do that so often. And to the point where, and then we sit down and wonder why our shoulders hurt. And it's
Mm-hmm.
because we got so
Mm-hmm.
much on them, you know?
Right. Right.
And if we don't, Angela, if we don't learn to release that weight and let some of that weight go, it really will drive us into the ground. And
Yeah.
I frequently talk with women when we do my whole reinvention program that I take women through. I talk about the fact that we've got to work on the core first. And the core are those areas that we don't necessarily think are pieces that we need in order to reinvent our lives, but it's really at the very platform of what we need to do. We need to work on emotions. We need to work on our mindset. We need to work on what what our heart is telling us. What do we feel deep down is something that's a passion, that's a purpose that we have.
Yeah.
And many times, a lot of it, a whole bunch of it, deals with the mindset. The mindset, I would say, is probably the most critical part of the core that needs to be worked out before you start getting into career, before you start getting into how am I going to make my life better. You got to work with
Right.
how you think, because as you think, you are. So
Mm-hmm.
you can definitely put yourself in the right frame of mind. Are you growth? Do I have a growth frame of mind?
Yeah.
Am I, do I have a mind of prosperity? Am I prosperous? And if you're thinking differently, then you definitely are not going to get the results that you want if you're not thinking in the right way.
That's good. And you know what, Alethea, I'm glad you brought it like that when you say about core,
Yeah.
because we can think about when you're trying to um, lose weight or you're, starting
Hmm.
to exercise. We always
Hmm.
tell you to have a strong core because that's what's
Yes.
going to help you to, lift the weights. It's going to help you with your stamina. It's going to help you to,
Mhm.
start seeing something different take form because the core is strong. And
Yeah.
so it's got to be the same way with your mind to
Yeah.
have a strong mind and a strong mindset and to know and a lot of times I feel like with women we know that we're unhappy or we know that we need some rest but we push past it. It's kind of sort of like red flags are going off. You got this major headache all the time and it's like your head is pounding but you just like I'm gonna take a couple of something and I'm keep going. So the
Right.
red flags are there. We just, for whatever reason, don't have the, I don't want to say common sense or good sense, but we just don't have it. We'll push on past it, even when, I can even see myself, with groceries. I might pick up 10 bags, you know what I'm saying, to just carry them all up the stairs and I'd be struggling like, oh,
Yeah.
why?
Can't
Why would I
breathe.
do that? Why would I do that?
Yeah. And I frequently say it's like, those smoke detectors. When they're
Mhm.
getting ready to go bad, they'll start doing just that one chirp, chirp,
Right, right,
chirp. And that one chirp will continue until you change that battery, right? Well,
right.
how many, I don't know, maybe it's just me. You've gotten to the point where you get used to that chirp and you pay it no mind. You're like, oh, it's just chirping. And then the thing stops working altogether. That's the same way that we operate. We see the
Yes,
signs, we hear the chirp.
yes.
We get to the point where it just passes us. We don't even hear it anymore because we've gotten so accustomed to seeing it or hearing it.
Hmm.
Just
Oh,
ignore
that's a good analogy because you know what? You can be on the phone and hear somebody's battery, and you're like, "Is that your smoke alarm?"
it. Right.
And they're thinking, is it?
Right.
I
Right.
it's easy because
Yeah.
you heard it, and you keep thinking, "I'm gonna get to it. I'm gonna get to it." And after a while, You hear it so much, girl. It's like music playing, the elevator music in the
Right.
background. It's just playing. And you
It's
don't
like,
even stop to say, I
oh
might
yeah,
need to change this. And God forbid you really have a fire.
I know.
You know, it is
Alert you.
to alert you. It is by God's grace and mercy that we are still able to continue on, even when we ignore the signs that tell us it's time to recharge, it's
Yeah,
time to replace, it's time to
absolutely.
rest, it's time to
Absolutely.
handle that business. And so, for you, with all the things that you do, I love that you find the time to still pour into others, and to make them help them to become better, to reinvent themselves. So,
Absolutely.
let's just say this because I know that for Alethea and I, we met around pandemic time.
Yes.
I don't know how many people really think about this, but some of the most amazing people I met is because we had a pandemic. And so
Yeah.
I love to say that what looks like the worst thing can often bring some joy and some greatness and some amazing things out of it. Everything that's
Absolutely.
bad doesn't always mean it's total devastation.
No.
Sometimes good things can come out of that. Some
Yes.
people met some people, that became lifelong friends or have inspired them.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And you're right. We met in the middle of the pandemic. And the funny thing is, at that point, we were learning to pivot and turn and do things differently. Some things have stuck around, like this platform became really popular during the pandemic because that
Mhm.
was the only way we could connect.
Right.
And it was during the pandemic, which is interesting too, that I really was forced to stop and pause and think about what direction it was that I was supposed to head in. What
Yeah,
direction am I really supposed to go in? And sometimes, when you look at tragedies that happen in your life, and we already talked about this, there is some purpose in it too. Now, the pandemic, as you know, was just earth shattering.
absolutely.
But you hear of stories that have come out of that. Of course, you hear of all the deaths that took place as well, but you
Mhm.
also hear stories of hope and stories of a future and destiny. And
Mhm.
I think we can attest to that as well. Things changed. And like you said, you meet some wonderful people. That's when we met. Definitely. And I have also met some other folks who have really helped me in furthering my career during that.
Yeah,
So all of that is real important. And let's face it, during that time, we really were forced to sit and think, what is most important to us?
absolutely.
With all that was going on, what is most important? And sometimes you only get that information when you stop and you pause.
When you can't outrun yourself.
Yes,
Because the reality is, prior to the pandemic, people, were just going, like a Duracell battery. And
absolutely.
when you had to be forced to shelter in place, that was the time for you to really realize, like, you know what? I don't even really know. I didn't even know that my husband liked this or my kids
Right.
did that or whatever, because you're going so much, you don't take the time. But when you're forced to shelter in place, you learn not only about the people that you live with, but you learn about yourself.
You
What
learn
I
about
found for me,
you.
oh, how do you learn about you? What I found out about me, Alethea, is that I used to go and do so much, but I actually love being in solitude. I can be in my house and not have TV on, not
Yeah,
have radio on, and just be working and doing something, and it's creative. And you know
right.
how before I would be in a car and would always have the radio on and always, but
Yes.
silence is powerful. Silence can really help your juices the creative juices start flowing, because you're not distracted. It gives you an opportunity to let your mind calm down so that downloads can come to you.
Yes.
Ideas can drop in your spirit, and so
Absolutely.
who knew?
Who knew? Exactly. What you say, silence is a beautiful thing.
A beautiful thing, for people who feel like, I can't have it quiet. Try
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Just try it.
Just try it. Just try it. Absolutely. So, yeah, that is a lot of what, I focused in on, even in this time post. As you know, I just recently did Miss Corporate America, and I needed a big pause after that one
Mm-hmm.
because again, I kind of felt myself moving into that do too much world too, because it was the first time out of the gate. I wanted to make sure that it went just right. But then what was different about that whole experience with me for the first time, and I don't always do this when I take on large projects, I realized, Alethea, sit down before you fall down.
Mm.
So once it was all done, I knew I had to sit down.
Exactly. And take some time for you. But let me
Yeah,
just say for the people who are going to catch this live or on the replay, Alethea has just glossed over something that is so huge. Talking about, that she was like, I got to sit down. But I'm going to rewind this a little bit and go back to Miss Corporate America,
yeah,
Maryland. She is the president of that. So let's talk about Miss Corporate America, period.
sure.
People know about that platform, what it represents, and how you came to be involved with it.
So Miss Corporate America, when I tell this story, people often say, really, well, it's just because it's the first time it's at the state level, but it's been around for about 16, 17 years. So it's been
Really?
around for a while.
Wow.
The founder, Ms. Anissa King Paul, was doing the competition, on her own, leading it out of Orlando, Florida, happening every summer. And
Wow.
up until this past year was really kind of selecting individuals from the state. She had a process for just recruiting and selecting people from the state to represent their state. And then she would hold the national competition. Well, in the last, I guess, couple of years, she decided, it's time to expand. It's time to bring in the cavalry, kind of to pull in some additional people
Right.
to help to make this, even more marketable. And that's what she did. And in doing so, in, seeking out additional partners and additional support at the national level, she solicited and recruited Sean Fair and Marcia Whitaker. So
Okay.
there are three principals at the helm, and thus they decided it's time to go ahead and expand to the state level. So when I heard about the opportunity, and actually, I believe it was Sean Fair who spoke to me about the opportunity first and talked about how this really does align with my platform, empowering women, giving women tools. Well, this competition, and we like to call it a competition rather than a
Mhm.
pageant, because it really does focus kind of on the business side with
Okay.
women. So we're talking, women in corporate America, talking about women in leadership positions in the government, in the
Oh,
military, in the community. So women who are leading in what it is that they do, and women who are about not just leading, but contributing, giving back to the community. And I had recently had a conversation with one of my contestants who really brought back to my uh, memory, to my recollection, the fact that that is a part of our mission and our vision is to pour back into the community. So
right.
not necessarily always what Miss Corporate America, what the contestants can do for themselves, but indeed, what is Miss Corporate America doing in the community? So expanding to the state level has given us the opportunity to do even more, to reach women on a more individual, on a state level basis before we even get to the national level. And when you talk to these women, yes, we are celebrating women. We're celebrating women in those leadership positions. And these women want to
Lovely.
pour back into the community. But also, these women talk about the sisterhood that's developed. And that is
Mhm.
huge with what we do,
Yes.
because these women have joined together to make great change, to bring about great changes in themselves as well. And all along the way, carrying the mission and the vision of Miss Corporate America with them, statewide and to the national level. So
That
that's
is so
how I
powerful. I mean, because you think about Miss Corporate America, and so not to say that beauty doesn't play a part,
Yeah.
poise doesn't play a part, but when you think about corporate America, you're looking at people who are, running businesses, running corporations,
Yes.
doing things, making major moves and dealing with, lots of people who are, helping the states that they're in to bring in and generate income and jobs and all these things. And so they have a lot of moving pieces and a lot of things that they have to take into consideration. And
Absolutely.
so I think that to highlight that is so
Mhm.
amazing because a lot of times when you're in those type of positions, it's so hard for women because we always talk about
Yes.
breaking glass ceilings, and
Yes.
so in corporate America, sometimes it's hard for women to get in there and really be able to utilize their gifts at a high level. You know,
Absolutely.
sometimes you have to be very politically correct, if I may say, in a sense, not in politics, but at the same time, there's not just governmental politics, there's corporate politics as well. And
Yes.
so you have to know how to navigate those waters while still being able to bring freshness,
Yes.
boldness, all
Yeah.
those things that sometimes, if you're playing as an entrepreneur, you can kind of have a little more flexibility and freedom because that's your playing field. But
Right.
when you're in corporate America, sometimes you have to kind of, ebb and flow. It's kind of like double dutch. You kind of looking like, let me
Yeah.
jump
See
in.
where you jump in.
Yes, get in where you fit in, and then be adaptable, but at the same time, evoke change from the
Yes.
inside out. And so it's
Absolutely.
beautiful that you all have this platform where women can really shine and really showcase all of the different aspects of themselves that they can bring to this arena.
Yes, absolutely. And, I was so, the first time out the gate, I always say, I've been saying that was just incredibly blessed with the court of women that I had. We
Hmm.
we had nine, eight. I had to do my count over again. We had eight women. And what was so funny when I first started this, I think all of the presidents could probably attest to this from the various states. They were saying, well, we'll have at least 50 contestants, but let me tell you, we had just the contestants that we were all supposed to have. And I don't think 50 was the number that we were supposed to hit the first year. I
Right, right.
really don't. But they all brought, such differences in what they did. I had one contestant who had just been leaping by miles and leaping tremendously in a world that was really pretty much dominated by men. And she came
Mhm.
in and she made her mark with her own company and is doing really well with contracts in that one. We've had, a nurse practitioner. We've had a photographer who owns her own studio
Okay.
dedicated to making her bombshells beautiful, as she calls them. We have someone who has hooked her candles into affirmations and has her own business growing out of that. Somebody who works with, the Chamber of Commerce, who works with numerous businesses there. Someone who is in HR. Our queen is an HR director. And we have someone also who has been working in real estate and owning halfway houses and just so many things that she is doing. So it really is pretty amazing, these women that we work with, one who teaches at the collegiate level. And many of them, all of them have their own platform, whether it be mental health, whether it be, human resources, whether it be dealing with trauma and overcoming, healing pains. They all have their own platforms and they all mesh together so well. And I always say it goes beyond the crown because the relationships that they've developed have definitely gone beyond the crown. Yeah, everybody wants to be a queen, like one of my contestants said.
Mhm.
However, it's more about the relationships and what you can do now that you have been put in this position. And that
Ah,
is definitely what they focus on.
I love that, beyond the crown, because Alethea, because you're a publisher and you're an author, and you're a speaker, we believe that everybody has a story and
Mm,
your voice deserves to be heard.
yes.
And when you can take your platform on a level like this, you know, and then expand it even beyond the crown that you get. And even if you don't win, you
Yeah.
still have a huge audience who are tapping into whatever that platform is. And so you're still bringing awareness,
Yeah.
by stepping into the arena. And so that's where the heavy hitters are, the powerhouses, because they recognize that there's many ways to get things accomplished. And
Yes.
sometimes we overlook the power of a Miss Corporate America
Hmm.
because we feel like, oh, that's a pageant and that's this and that's that. But it's a powerful way to get your message across and to uplift and increase and put your platform in the forefront so that you can
Yes.
bring visibility to it. And then now more people are tuning in, more people are finding out information. Now you can share, some insights that maybe people weren't aware of. And
Yeah.
you just think how rich that piece is where you bring all these amazing people together from different sectors.
Hmm.
And you
Hmm.
can tap in and find out how can I help you with what I do further what your vision is.
Yes.
It's that
That's what it's
networking piece that is
Yeah.
powerful.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. How can I help you in doing what you do? That is our real goal. That is the real goal of Miss Corporate America. Like I said, that is why it's fell so well in
Mhm.
alignment with what it is that I do, because
Right.
we focus on those tools, that you need to get further. Miss Corporate America helps to accentuate that as well. It helps to celebrate these women who are actually doing the things that they have dreamt of doing forever and a day, still pushing their way, still making inroads and trying to get to where they want to be. But we celebrate them for what they've already accomplished and
Yeah.
what they're going to do.
And I love the celebration, because I
Yeah.
don't think we take time to celebrate our wins. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're so busy with our, like the little engine that could. I think I can. And you're just pushing forward. And you don't realize the strides that you're making as you're moving forward. You're still
Hmm.
doing major things. So this is an opportunity for everybody to stop and celebrate where you are, big or small accomplishment. You are doing something and
Yeah.
that matters. And I love that y'all celebrate that.
Absolutely. And that matters. Sometimes that's all women need to hear, is that what you do matters.
What you
You
do
know,
matters.
who
Mhm.
you are matters.
Who you are. We had Dr. Carolyn Stevens on our platform last week, and that's one of the things she said. Tell 3 people that I see you. It's so
Yes.
important for women, to
Yeah.
just be seen because we feel like, what? We're behind the scenes making things happen. And sometimes you just need somebody to say, what? I see you.
I see you. I
Mhm.
do.
And
Although many times you are trying to hide,
but I see you
but
and
I
what you're
see you.
doing matters. And
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it is just like I remember my mom telling me, that she was really proud of me. And that gives me energy and it fuels me in times where I feel like I'm tired and I just want to give up or this is not working and it's not working like I thought it would. I'm gonna stop. And I can
Right.
hear her in my head say, I'm proud of you. And
Yeah.
that keeps me going. So that same way that I can hear my mom telling somebody else, I see you, that is fuel for them to keep going because sometimes you feel like, why keep going? Because nobody's noticing.
I'm not getting anywhere. Nobody sees it.
Exactly. I'm doing all this for nothing.
Right.
When in
Exactly.
actuality, somebody sees you and
Somebody.
somebody appreciates who you are.
Yes, yes. Your story, like I said, it's for somebody. Your
Mm-hmm.
experiences, it's for somebody. You may never know who that somebody is,
True.
but rest assured, somebody needed what you have. Somebody needs what you have. Absolutely.
I love that. I love that. Alethea, when I tell you that all of the things that you have done with your platform, um, tell them about your podcast because I don't have the name up here, but I do want them to know that you have a platform. And it's one other thing I want to talk about too once you talk about that.
Okay. So my podcast is Leveling Up the Podcast with Alethia Tucker. I also do a Thursday night segment of that podcast that's called Thought for Thursday. And that's every Thursday. I come on and do that in a 15-minute time span. We hit 5 tools that you can walk away with and implement when you leave the podcast. So leveling up really focuses in on the pain points, again, finances, lifestyle, career, faith, just all of the things that we usually need a little help around.
Mhm.
So I usually talk to guests who offer their expertise on that. I'll bring some topics to the table that I will bring, my sources of revelation about as well. And then we just combine all of that to make sure that we are giving tools, like I said, that can be used, that are going to be effective in making sure that you can get from one place to the next so that you can advance, not go backwards, but helping you to come out of, if you're not thinking again in the right way, if you're not taking care of yourself in the right way. Do you need to change diet? We talk about that. We talk about
Mhm.
finances. How is it that we can fix our finances to fund the dream, to fund the
Right.
vision, to fund where it is that we want to go? What role is faith playing in what it is that you do? Where does your faith lie? How is it helping you? Are you relying on it to help you to get to the next? So we talk about all of these things. And again, these are all pain points. These are areas that all of us have some dealing with. And if we can just get something to help us with a pain point, then maybe it won't be so painful and we can move past it and get to a point where we're really thriving. I always say, to a life that thrives instead of one where you're living in mediocrity.
So, so, so true. So, so true. And
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the point of, I don't know if it was today or if it was one day last week, but maybe the Tuesday talk you did, but you talked about words carry weight.
Yes. Yes.
Expound
Oh my
on that a
goodness.
little bit, Alethea, because I just feel like something in my spirit said, how you talk to yourself matters, but your
Mhm.
words carry weight.
Yes.
And before we end, I need somebody to put all their energy into what you get ready to say now.
Okay, so let me tell you this. I said earlier that what you say about yourself, who you say you are, is who you are. Not necessarily who you really are, but who you make yourself out to be, because you are trying to live up to those words that you are saying about yourself. Now, 9 out of 10, those words don't accurately depict who you really are. But somewhere along the line, those words have filtered into your head because of past experiences, because of disappointments, because of things that you have not had to go the way that you desire for them to go. And what I want you to do to turn that thing around is to realize that just because you've had circumstances that may not have gone the way that you want them to go in your life, that does not dictate how your life is going to pattern from here on. So you change how you look at that. You change how you think about it. You don't say, I'm broke and I don't have the money to fund my dream. You say, I am working on getting the funds that I need to get my dream. You don't say that my health is deteriorating and I'll never get any better. You say, I'm on the road to being the healthy person that I envision that I'm going to be, because I'm doing those things that I need to do in order to get healthy. You don't say that I'll never have that relationship. There are no men out there for me. And you sit back and you continue to pray, Lord, I know that there's the right one for me. Help me to be in the position that I need to be in so that I can see him. I'm just talking about talk that I've heard from people myself. So you've got to change what it is that you say so that you can change where it is that you're going to go, is the whole point that I was making with your words carry weight, and you have to watch what you say.
I love it. I love it. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to end on because, we are sometimes our own biggest enemy when it comes to the words that we say. And
Yeah.
we don't really, though you hear them say all the time, the Bible says, the life and death is in the power of the tongue. And
Mm,
you hear it and you know it. But we're so quick to say, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Or I'm
yeah.
so,
Oh,
we're so quick to say little bitty things that you don't realize how that out of your mouth into your ear gate will be subconsciously deposited
yeah.
so that when something comes up, you second guess yourself because you're like, I've said I'm so stupid so many times that, yeah, I better not try that because I don't want to embarrass myself.
Right.
When it's nothing further from the truth, but because we consistently allow ourselves to not manage our words, to
Mm-hmm.
not understand that I have to be very careful in how I say this
Yes.
because my words can manifest my
Yes.
reality. And where I am today is the result of things I've said 2 years, 5 years, 10 years back. So if
Yes.
I want my future to change, I have to frame my words and
Yes.
understand that my words have weight.
Yes, they
And I
do.
need to be very, very careful of how I drop them because you wouldn't be somewhere and have a brick and just drop it down on a baby.
No.
You wouldn't have something that's really heavy and drop it down on your grandmother. You
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't have something
Hmm.
that say, "Oh, let me just drop this big block or something on my husband's head." You
Right.
wouldn't do any of those things. Your mouth, the words that come out of your mouth, when you are very derogatory or very antagonistic or very toxic or very dysfunctional in the
Yes.
way that you speak, it's no different.
You pull that into your life, then your life becomes toxic.
Yes. Listen, that should have been freeing for somebody. I told y'all Letty was going to get on here and give us what we needed for tonight. That's why the spotlight is being shined on her because she's out here making such a big difference. And I would love for you all, Letty, tell them, please, how they can get in contact with you, how they can follow the podcast, how they can connect with you, for all of the things that you do. Because, of course, like I said, speaker, coach, publisher, president of Miss Corporate America Maryland, podcast host. It's so many things that Alethea does and does well. If you're in the middle of life and you're trying to figure it out, she can help you to reinvent.
Yes.
It's so many things that I feel like is so positive and connecting. But more than anything else, is that Alethea has such a beautiful spirit. You know
Oh,
how you can get with some people and they're just like, they're great at what they do. Spirit is just off.
mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
To be connected to somebody who has a beautiful spirit, it can take you, it can 10x what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know
Thank
what I'm saying? When you have that connection, it can take you leaps and bounds. It can laser focus what you're trying to do because their spirit pulls the greatness out of you.
you. Mm.
And so that is Alethea,
Oh,
Dr. Alethea Tucker. So
what?
please let them know how they can get in contact with you, ma'am.
They can get in contact me by going to the website, and that is Jolease Enterprises, Jolease. Put enterprises behind that.com. My email, atucker@joleaseenterprises.com. For Ms. Corporate America, that is Maryland.Ms. Corporate America. And that's on Facebook, that is on Instagram, that is the website. You can connect to find out what we have going on with that. So if you want to talk platform, if you want to talk my reinvention program, go on over to Jolease Enterprises. If you want to talk about Ms. Corporate America, go to Ms. Corporate America. Either way, connect. Even if you get confused on the two, I'll still sort it out for you and we'll make sure to connect.
So, Alethea, in talking about Miss Corporate America, I know that this just recently took place. Is this an annual?
It is annual. So the
Okay.
next one we are planning already for March of 2026. Going to
Okay.
be, yes, yes, yes. And if you go to the website, there's information on that already. We have it going, and we're going to start doing our interest meetings for those who want to know more about Miss Corporate America. So stay tuned. And of course, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, Alethia Tucker on Facebook, Alethia A. Tucker on Instagram, and then, like I said, Marilyn.Ms. Corporate America on Facebook and Instagram as well. And we will keep you up to date on programs. We'll keep you up to date on Ms. Corporate America. And we'll tell you definitely about reinventing and how it is that we can get you the tools that you need to move from that mediocre place to that life where you're thriving.
Yes, honey, we're going to be thriving in 2025 going forward. And this
Yes.
thing, stop looking at what it looks like. Stop
Mm,
looking at what the news is portraying that is going on. Because what happens when you get bought in and caught up to the portrayal, you will never recognize that people will
mm,
steer you in certain directions that they want you to go in. You
absolutely.
got to have crystal clarity about your life and about what you
Absolutely.
want to do and
Yes.
how you want to reinvent yourself and show up and trust that process. Because I'm telling you, if God can connect you to the right people, then He's going to ensure that your vision and your purpose and your passion all work together so that you can become the best version of yourself. And
Yeah.
so, Alethea, thank you so much for
Thank you.
being here and just for sharing all of this good information. And y'all, I love her voice because it's so soothing and it's like pouring honey out and saying, "Oh, look how nice and smooth and good this honey is." It's just so yes, I love it.
Thank
I love
you.
it. I love it. And I am so excited about all of the amazing things that you're doing. I love this connection. It looks great on you with
Thank
the
you.
being president of Miss Corporate America, Maryland. Alethea, one question:
Yes.
if someone is trying to be Miss Corporate America, may not live in Maryland, but
Mhm.
want to get, maybe in their state, can they still reach out to you to be directed?
They can reach out to me or they can reach out to Ms. Corporate America. If they put that into the system, if they go to that website,
Mhm.
it will connect them to the state that they need
Okay.
to get information on. Or, like I said, they could reach out to me as well. That's what I love too about being a part of this. All of the presidents, we work together. And so
Yeah.
it's nothing for us to say, hey, I found somebody in Illinois, you need to call them. So we all connect and work with one another.
Awesome, awesome. Ladies, listen, if you want to be in the running for the next Miss Corporate America of 2026,
Yes.
make sure you connect with Alethea. Get on the platform. I'm sure all of the presidents have been selected to be amazing people just like Alethea. So this is an opportunity. If you have a platform, if you are, in corporate America and you want to, really expand, because I'm telling y'all, you don't know how platforms like these can take what you do and blow it up to another level.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. Take you further than you ever envisioned you would go. And all in the process of helping others.
Yeah.
And that where you go, you expanding just comes as a part of that.
And that's a win-win all across the board. And that's what we like to do, honey. We win
Yes,
over in this camp. So
that's right. That's right.
yes. Well, Alethea, we're gonna get out of here. I just wanted to again say thank you so much for being on the platform. Thank you for how you celebrate other women. I think that's a beautiful thing to see other women. Because they always saying we can't get along or whatever, but
I
women
know.
can change the narrative, baby. Listen, women can
Absolutely.
get along.
We can
They
get
can.
along and we go further with each other than we do apart.
And we do. We do. We do. So y'all make sure y'all reach out and connect to Alethia and the platform if you're interested in Miss Corporate America. Alethia, I hope you have a phenomenal rest of the day, a amazing week. And who knows, maybe we'll catch up again
Yes,
sometime. I think it's what, been 2 years, 3 years since we
I
see each other.
know. And I can't thank you enough for having me, Angela. It's always a joy to talk to you and just even incredibly pleasant to be with you here tonight.
I know, I know. I'm like, listen, we got to catch up again, but I just
Yeah,
wanted to, I saw what you were doing and just thought, you know what? If I see you, I want some other people to see you too.
thank
So that is what it's all about.
thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. All right, everybody. Y'all make sure you tune in again next week, honey. You don't know who's going to be on the spotlight. We got somebody else coming up next week. So just make sure you tune in and find out who that somebody is. Until then, y'all be blessed. Have a good night. Alethea, take care.
Thank you. You too.